Thank you for joining the Therapist's Invitation. My name is Trever Shirin.
And I'm remembering that I'm Mark Mayfield.
Yeah, you're not distracted, during the intro. Yeah. Okay, so here's my question for you, Mark.
Oh, yay.
Are you the same therapist for every single one of your clients?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm sure we're going to unpack that more.
Are you the same? I mean, this is a dumb question. How many siblings do you have?
One.
Yeah, I was trying to say, are you the same sibling? I know, I was like, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
Why doesn't it doesn't work? That's why. Are you the same son for both of your parents?
Yes.
Do you do different things with them?
I do.
Do you do different things with your clients?
I do, but...
Are there some clients you would do something with that you would never do with another client?
Actually, I can honestly say no.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe this is like...
I'd love to, I want to explore this a little bit more. Like, as far as like this is the question I'm going to put back on you.
Yeah.
Are you talking about what I do with my clients or how I show up for my clients?
I'm asking, let me ask it in a different way.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask questions back and forth. If two of your clients got together, do you think it would feel like they were seeing the same therapist?
Yes. Yeah.
How so?
Because I think I show up for my clients the same way.
Empathic,
but I'm not afraid to confront. I challenge. Things are very existential. I don't do the work for them.
Yeah.
Very conscientious about listening, reflecting, calling out emotions. So, the techniques maybe like the worksheets we do and that kind of stuff, or whatever you want to call it, may be different.
Yeah.
But I think how I show up is the same.
What about your relationship with clients? Are there some clients that you feel closer to and maybe feel closer to you than other ones?
Thinking of my current caseload right now, probably not.
Okay. Well, I mean, and you've really curated your
I get
caseload.
To pick and choose a lot. I think in the past, probably.
Yeah. Because I was reflecting on this question as, I was doing some content planning and trying to come up with like questions that were thought provoking. And this was one that hit me of, are there two clients on my caseload that might feel like they're seeing different therapists? And is that true? And does that mean...
Or is that bad?
Right. Or is it bad?
Right.
And it really brought me to this question of authenticity versus procedure. So is the procedure the same?
But I think that's what I think that's what I was pushing back on a little bit. Not intentionally, but I think I'm authentic.
Yep.
And that's the same. Procedurally, it might be different.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
And I think that, is some self-disclosure here as a young therapist. I'm learning that. Because there are definitely some clients that I feel more comfortable to do some more self-disclosure, to make jokes with, to, interact a little bit differently. That's still very authentic to who I am.
Sure.
But other clients where that's just not part of the dynamic, there's a difference there where if I was to make the same jokes with client A, with client B, client B wouldn't respond because it's not in alignment with that relationship. And how much of that is procedure of I know the treatment plan that I'm on with this one client and what they're looking for, what they need, their history, like really being attentive to what are we doing in therapy. And I know that this part of, how I love to do relationships doesn't have as much room.
I think it depends on where you work too.
Say more.
Well, community mental health, most community mental health centers, to keep the doors open, require you to see 38 sessions a week.
Yeah.
Well, you have 2 hours for paperwork. Right?
Even with a 7-minute gap in the hour, there's no way.
Can't do it, right? And so I think in some ways authenticity goes out the door because procedure is the only way that you can survive. Right. So I do think it's where you are working, but I think it's also how you're trained. You think about, and I'm just going to put people in boxes real quick, but most therapists are not.
That never goes wrong.
Yeah, that never goes wrong. Never. Most therapists aren't in boxes. But, when I'm teaching I teach at Colorado Christian University. When I teach students, can you guess what the typical theory of choice usually is for people?
I'm going to guess either CBT or my actual answer of person-centered.
Right. Either one. Right.
Which, to describe it to those who aren't fully aware of all those things, which why would you be?
Yeah.
CBT is really talking about...
What is it? First?
So cognitive behavioral therapy, thank you. My wife will thank you for that.
Yep.
Cognitive behavioral therapy is talking about the connection between our thoughts and our behaviors, and it is skill-based and it's processing-based. Like
formulaic in some ways.
Yeah, formulaic in some ways. Can you do behaviors that are going to change the way you're thinking? Can you change your thinking so that it impacts your behaviors?
Yep.
And it's pretty pragmatic and actionable. I implement a lot of CBT in my work, but I do a lot of different things in my work.
Yeah.
Person-centered or Rogerian counseling.
Carl Rogers,
the founder of this perspective, who later kind of recanted the idea. Kind of the concept is like the therapist should say no more than 7 words in a session, where you are simply there to facilitate a space for the client to be, and you are not directing them in any specific way. You are just listening and being an ear. And, there were jokes about Rogers that he could have recorded, himself for an hour saying,
right.
Yeah. Just minimal encouragers, and put that in a session, and, the client would get as much benefit. Now that sounds like a really harsh, approach to describing Rogerian and leaning one way. Person-centered therapy is incredible. And
it is
wonderful. And I think that where you're going with this is that in the path of a counselor, if we were to be super broad,
right,
it is this idea that I'm going to be person-centered, not doing that at all, and then a continual process over your professional life of trying to get back to person-centered.
Yeah. And I think, with CBT, and the reason I brought up CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is that we talk about counseling as a science and an art. And most people coming into the field have no idea what it looks like to have the art of counseling.
Yeah.
And so they like the science. So give me a formula, let me implement that.
Yeah.
And, and this is where I think I love your question, is because it's not that simple.
No.
Right? Even though, you and I are both similar upbringing, faith, white males.
Yep. Even approach to counseling.
At times, and that kind of stuff. There's so much more complexity there. And how you might approach me as a client might be different than how I approach you as a client.
Yeah.
Even though there's similarities. And so I think now that I process this more in this conversation, I think, what are you, when you talk about, is if two clients get together and are the thing, I think they would say, they would call out pieces of us that paint the whole picture.
Yes. Say more.
Well, I think, you think about the husband of a couple that you might be seeing that you are just going to lay into because he's not being, receiving this, and he's shaming his wife and all this kind of stuff. And so you're going to give a piece of you to him that is very confrontational.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put up with your BS.
Right.
Right. But then the next session, you come in and you're working with a couple, and the wife just filed divorce papers, and he didn't see it coming, and he is totally distraught.
Yeah.
You're going to be really empathic.
Right.
And validating.
Right.
But it's not saying that the confrontational piece of you was disingenuous.
Right.
Or that the validation piece was disingenuous.
Right.
But if you put those two husbands together, one would think you're a jerk, and the other one would think that you're the coolest guy ever because you're, So I'm going to change my answer. I do think that, I don't know if they would get the same response.
Or at least there's the possibility that there are two clients that would feel like it's a different therapist. And I think that speaks to, one, as a therapist, an intentionality on authenticity has to be there. I need to be genuine. I need to be authentic no matter what we're doing, no matter what the procedure is. I need to be me.
Yeah, but the confrontation piece is genuine.
Right.
And the empathic side of you is genuine
too. And I think, so that's one takeaway. I think the other takeaway is that there is such a beauty to the counseling relationship where, and I say this in pretty much every single one of my intakes,
right?
you are a unique person. I am a unique person. Therefore, our relationship is going to be unique and our therapy should be unique.
Yeah.
And so really, like, we have the opportunity as counselors and the opportunities given to clients to walk into a relationship that is uniquely crafted for the needs of that moment and can change. And so, this is a different relationship. We've talked about this constantly to anything else in the world, your relationship with a counselor. And one of the reasons for that is because your counselor has the opportunity to be something you need or want or have a desire for in that moment of support, of encouragement, of space.
So this is going to sound very egotistical for a moment, but go with me on this one. It took me a while to reach out to find a counselor.
Same.
Right. And so I've got one now.
Yeah.
Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that this person didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
Right. I went out of city, different county, up to Denver, and I got on the call and they're like, I saw you on my caseload. I'm like, why does he need a counselor? And I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that's egotistic at all.
But
I think
but I'll finish real quick, finish the story and I'll let you go. But as we started talking, then this counselor was like, but then I realized like everybody needs a counselor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, you know who how do you know who okay. And so it, in some ways in an instant, it confirmed my greatest fear. And then she did a really good job of going, but let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I was really encouraged as I walked away going, okay, I've got my person in my corner.
Yeah.
My counselor. But I'm like, oh, I don't.
Totally. Yeah. I don't think that's egotistic at all. Cause I talk to my clients frequently of, I'm not going to search you out on social media, partially because that's a professional boundary.
We don't do that.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there's intentionality of, I want the information that I know about you to come from you.
Yeah.
Or to be, if I'm getting, information from a mom and a dad, I want it to be something that, you're participating in. And it's not just me getting information on you without you.
Right.
And that's really meaningful to me as the therapist because, I don't want to form this idea of like, oh, so-and-so says that this person was on the news or blah, blah, blah. And meet you. And, for me, I have to do a lot of work to deconstruct all of that so that I can enter into a place of, being there for you and offering unconditional positive regard. But also like, that's not helpful.
No.
And so I think like that actually speaks to one of the other beauties of a counseling relationship where we don't know each other.
Yeah.
We get to know each other and we get to present, you get to offer me the history that other people know.
Well, it's interesting, reflecting on my own journey towards counseling, I have seen in my years people that are known. And it's scary for them. And so it was kind of, again, reaffirming for me to go into that as well. Because I remember when I would see somebody that's known and they're like, this is hard for me. I'm sitting there going, well, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I know of you, but I don't know you.
Yeah. And this is still a safe place.
And this is still a safe place. So to have that flipped onto me was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And really enjoyable.
Yeah.
But, this question of authenticity, why do you think people struggle with authenticity?
It's a super easy answer. That is not easy at all. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Because they don't know who they are. I think that's really what it comes down to. One of the biggest things that I heard going into my counseling degree and after was that your counseling degree really refines you as a person. Like, yes, it sets you up for, in some ways, to be a counselor.
So what's other people's excuses that are counselors that haven't really gotten there yet?
Dude. But like, it's a real process of development and self-awareness.
It is, yeah.
And I think that is what sets us up for success. It can set us up for success as counselors. Is I can't be authentic to Trevor if I don't know who Trevor really is.
Yeah.
I need to be able to know, like, is Trevor actually the guy that makes jokes to make himself laugh rather than other people laugh? Or does he say that and he really cares that other people are laughing? And, finding out like, no, I tell jokes because they're funny to me and I don't care if other people laugh or not. Like now I'm able to walk in that authenticity, but only because I know it. If I haven't explored that question
10 years ago.
Right. And so I think it really does come down to that. You can't be authentic to yourself if you don't know yourself. And to take it a step further, I don't believe that you can be authentic to yourself if you're not being reflective in a new situation. So, for example, if I, back in the day when I started dating, I entered into a new role of boyfriend. And if I hadn't had self-reflection to know, like, okay, what is Trevor the boyfriend? Who is that guy? And is he much different than Trevor the such and such? How big of a difference is Trevor the therapist versus Trevor the husband? How big is the difference between Trevor the dad versus Trevor the friend?
Right.
And, I think this goes to procedure versus authenticity too, of like, no, it's Trevor. He's just doing something different. He's engaging in a different way.
Well, but there can also be healthy aspects of that and unhealthy aspects of that too, right? Well, somebody can say, well, I'm authentic. Yeah, and you're a jerk.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah. Don't just settle for what you have,
right? So I think authenticity and awareness have to go hand in hand.
Yeah,
right.
I love that. That's so funny. I love that so much.
Yeah. I mean,
you are genuinely a jerk.
Like I give you credit. Like you're a jerk with everybody.
Very genuine. You hate everyone.
but right. I mean,
yeah.
But that's where the awareness comes in.
Yeah.
Of change.
Do I want to be a jerk?
Right. If you do, then fine.
Then go for it.
You're the best jerk in the whole world. Like, good job.
But yeah, I mean, just sitting with that, like, are you being authentic to yourself? Question mark.
Right.
Not, and then go on to like in this way, and this way, and this way. But in general, like, are you allowing yourself to be authentic to you? And if you come across the points when you realize you're a jerk, like I have had it called out to me recently that I am a real butthole to people when I meet them at first, like in my personal life.
Sure.
And like, I just don't give off who I am otherwise. And having that reflected to me and really having to sit with it and having the ability to sit with it and process and be like, why is that? Why do I do that? First, is it true? Yes, it's true. I am a certain way with new people. And then digging into like, is that something, that's authentic to me? Because it's everyone. It doesn't change. And this is the authentic reason that exists and the genuine, aspects of why I do that.
Right.
But does it have to be? Can I change that? Can I develop into something else and add something to my authenticity?
Or do you want to?
Right. The answer is yes, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to paint myself in too dark colors.
But my question too then becomes is are people able to handle genuine authenticity?
That's a good question.
I'm thinking about just relationships that I've had that have worked and not worked.
Yeah.
Longevity, non-longevity.
Yeah.
And Sarah and I were talking about this last night, my wife, and we're just like, I think we have, unless haven't gotten any feedback otherwise, right? But I think we have been genuinely ourselves with everyone that we've come in contact with. We're the type of family that if there's a need, we're going to show up with a meal. We don't ever expect that to be reciprocated.
Right.
That's just us. And it would be nice if that was reciprocated. Right. And so when we were sick a couple weeks ago with COVID, and we don't accept help very easily. So that's another part of the whole problem, right?
Yeah.
Too. But we had half a dozen people reach out. Can we bring you anything?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sarah, we got to say yes. Because I can't go to the store. I'm tired of Grubhubbing crap.
Yeah.
And so we said yes. Right. But that was like, oh, this is so cool. Like there's some reciprocity here.
Yeah.
And there's some authenticity on their end.
Yeah.
And we're saying yes now instead of being the ones that are doing, so, but I think people really struggle with that authenticity and genuineness because it puts a magnifying glass on them and the lack thereof.
Self-awareness is very rarely comfortable. Like, let's just be clear about that. Very rarely comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's always good. And I will use a absolute statement there.
Yeah. Well, it's always funny. It's like, I want to say to people sometimes, like, hey, your unhealthiness is showing. Like, I want to take a look at that. Put a reflection, put a mirror on there.
Yeah.
Like work on that.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had lots of conversations about relationships lately and when that's appropriate, when it's not. And I think it's appropriate in some relationships, not all relationships,
right,
to call out that inauthenticity. I'm not going to be able to talk.
You're not using all your words up right now.
And you and I have had conversations since the beginning of like this podcast, and even before, like if we ever become a certain type of person because people recognize us,
take me out.
Like that isn't authentic to who I am or who I want to be, and so you need to call that out.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was talking to my counselor. I was like, who are they talking to? I was talking to my counselor. And I'll let you in on this. I think I have a book coming out.
Yeah.
And another one, but the first one wasn't promoted very well.
No.
So I got another one coming out. And the PR stuff, I'm starting to talk about that. And my counselor's like, oh, that sounds really exciting. I'm like, yeah. And she's okay. What is? I'm like, I think the dumbest thing in the world is a Christian celebrity. I think.
Wow, you just got so much heat. I felt it.
I said it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like we're following a call in our life. We're being obedient, whatever. To be put in a Christian celebrity framework is just dumb. And she goes, so you're not going to enjoy the process? I said, no, I want to enjoy the process, but I don't want to become something that is just so ludicrous that, and then allow my ego to feed that. I think the reason there's Christian celebrities is because it feeds ego. It feeds woundedness. It that kind of stuff.
Well, and then we're competing in a subset of culture, which is easier to compete in because it's like being on C team rather than varsity.
Yeah, no, it's also stupid. And so she goes, well, I'm going to start challenging. And this is my first session last week, but she's, I'm going to start challenging on that. I'm like, okay, good. Like I need it. She goes, the fact that you're talking about this right now tells me that you probably won't let it get to that point.
Probably not.
Like,
I won't let you. No,
thanks. but that's the authenticity piece and the awareness piece.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people that aren't willing or ready to receive those things. They're the ones that make the headlines. Sadly.
Well, and I would offer too that in the midst of authenticity, we get greater diversity in our experiences and our relationships, and that it is safer.
I like that.
From a kid who was very chameleon-esque in high school.
Me too. Right there with you.
There was not real. It was hard. It was stressful. It was, enjoyable for moments, but there was a lot of stress and anxiety about it. And now I'm far less like malleable in that way where, I'm not going to change so dramatically based on circumstances.
Like you like Mountain Dew? I hate it.
Right. But I do know, if I go to, X place, there might be a few X-like things that come out of me that don't have the opportunity in Y place.
Well, that makes sense.
And it's not that, Y doesn't exist in X or X doesn't exist in Y. It just means that I know that this is an opportunity for me to enhance and act out my X.
I mean, I think I've told you this. On my own, I would never play D&D. I still don't understand it completely.
Yeah.
But because I'm friends with you and I really like you and you like it, it's of interest to me. But I'm not going to say, well, yeah, Trevor, I love D&D. Like, let me talk to you about all this, that, and the other thing. That would have been me in high school, though. Right? But I'm confident in myself going, okay, I don't get it fully, but you like it, and I like you, so let's learn. I remember in high school, how many times I'm like, why did I say that?
Right.
Like, I don't like Mountain Dew. I've never even tried Mountain. Like, but what, and I think it was that insecurity. It's that inferiority. It's that wanting to be liked,
some
and fit
developmental appropriateness.
How many adults do you know that are still there?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We're going off on rabbit trails now, but but I think I love the question that you posed. And I think there needs to be a litmus test, for us to go, am I authentic with you similarly to my wife? Now my wife's going to get more of me than I give.
Right.
But that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But if you were to compare notes.
But it's very different for me to go to Bree and be Trevor and then for me to come to you and do something very like, if maybe let me go back a little bit. So a better example is the D&D thing.
Yeah.
It would be very different if you went to Sarah and, told her, I hate D&D. Like, it's such a dumb thing. Why do people do it? Don't we know that, like, this is where demons come into the world, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
Well, 1980s Christianity.
I know, pulling out the demonic panic. And then come to me and say, I love D&D. I did this research last night. I want to be this character. Can I join your party? Like that. There's no authenticity in either
there's not.
Of those situations.
Right.
Even if you would say your conversation with Sarah is authentically you.
Right.
Because you're doing the opposite.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
no longer authentic.
Mm-mm.
And so I think we lose authenticity when we do have that drastic diversity. But then if we're able to say, like, I'm open to it. It's nothing I pursue on my own. And you tell Sarah, like, I would never like do it on my own. I'd never spend time researching it unless I really was doing that with probably somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then you came to me and you said, like, hey, like, you're talking about D&D. It sounds kind of interesting. Can you tell me more? Like, can I watch a session?
Right.
And like all of a sudden, both are very authentic, even though in one you're leaning towards, nah, I'm not going to play.
Right.
And the other is, yeah, I'll play.
Yeah.
Very authentic.
Mm-hmm. So it poses a lot of questions for our listeners. Like, what are some takeaways as we finish up today?
Know thyself.
Yeah. It's as simple and as complicated as it can get.
Super easy, way too hard.
Right. Yeah, I know. One of my favorite books that I'll put out there that I would encourage everyone to read is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's not a page turner. It's like it's a okay. I need to read like 3 or 4 pages and put it down.
Yeah.
But it is an amazing book because it just talks about his journey, but also poses a lot of great questions for us as we find ourselves. I just think this is the lifelong journey. Mm-hmm. I want to be in this mindset when I'm 80. And not lose
We're
it.
born authentic to ourselves. I would hope that we can die authentic to ourselves.
I agree. Well, with that, we'll see you next week.